ain't no generational wealth, because all of our parents were born during apartheid. So there is no privilege. Yeah. You know, let's take that out, because once you say that, it means you're fine with the bare minimum. And we deserve the world. Do you get what I'm saying? And that was so important, because you essentially, I mean, a lot of the time, your father or mother, or whoever it is in that situation, is the breadwinner. But not only for you guys, the children, is the breadwinner for everyone, and trying to get everyone out of poverty. You know, because the system had ensured that you as a black person were in poverty. So there was no privilege. Whatever money you got, you had to ensure that not only your parents, is fine, but even the cousins, everyone has to be fine, because we have to get out of this poverty. Let's help. You know what I'm saying? So
that's why someone even said, like, you know, we don't adopt. And I was like, what do you mean we don't adopt? We adopt everybody. Like, we've got children from children. Of course we're adopting. Absolutely. We're adopting cousins, we're adopting family. You know, it doesn't have to be formal and be a baby from overseas, but it's happening all the time.
It's not inheritance. You're not inheriting anything. I haven't inherited anything. And I'd like it where people of color get to a stage where they can do such. And, you know, someone, I was just looking at the comments, sorry, and I'm going to digress a bit, spoke about, and this is just an honest, important conversation to have, where there was someone experiencing racism as well in colored and Indian schools. And I think it's important for us to raise such that there were systems put in place for us to hate one another, for everyone to hate one another. Remember, blacks were seen as last, then it was colored, and then it was Indians, and then it was whites. I mean, we can even, you know that from history. So of course that indoctrination and that brainwashing to thinking that you're better than someone else was there. If everyone can understand that you're essentially a victim of the system that you can't explain, but has been well planned for you. I mean, like I said, Verbut was cum laude in sociology and psychology, and was a journalist. So he knew exactly how to control the behavior of a black mind and how to destroy the mind of a black mind. He understood all of that. And of course, the Steve Bikos of this world were trying to do otherwise. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing now with schools, where your story, for example, which is shocking, because you as a black young child at the time didn't feel protected. I know someone very close to me got 20% taken out of their marks. They were a bit of a boffin, but like 20% was taken off their marks. And when I shared that story, I didn't realize how many other people had the same situation. So you're supposed to get an A, but for some reason you've gotten a B. And thank goodness they were boffin and not like me. They'd look at their marks. You know, those people who actually go through this. I was like, oh, well, I got 50 and I'm okay with that. You know, but she in that was a boffin and looked through her marks and realized that this doesn't make sense. Why am I always being marked down? I actually did the right work. This is right. And I was just thinking, wow, imagine a kid in primary school having to go through something like that. And you're hearing it also in tertiary, where there's also those dynamics. And you're just thinking, there's so much to ensure that a person of color does not succeed.
But you also have to like keep your eye on it so much, because like my sister did science for high school, and she ended up passing with straight A's, and then went on to varsity and graduated top of her entire year in property sciences. But in high school, her teacher at St. Anne's, actually, I'm going to say it with my chest, at St. Anne's, told her that she shouldn't be doing science. Told my mom, like, she needs to like go do maybe biology or home economics. She's just not coping here. And my mom's like, how is it possible that she's not coping when she does her homework, she gets all these marks throughout the year, but then the end of the term report says that she's not coping? So that was the first time I saw my mom like, we're going to fight physically. Me and all your teachers, they must line up, and I'm going to, you know, like that. She came to school and we were like, Mom, no. You know how as black kids now, you're also trying to police your parents because they mustn't be too black, they mustn't be too loud. So she came and she was like, what the fuck do you mean my child must not do science? Like, she's passing throughout the whole year with A's, and then it's either your weak teaching, because she wants to do science. So if she's not doing as well as you think she should, then you sit with her and make sure that she does better. Otherwise, what are we paying you for? And then at the end of it, she ended up moving to another school and flourishing and getting straight A's. And I was like, it's so weird, because in my grade, I was the only black girl who did higher grade maths. And for the longest time, I just thought, you know, I mean, first of all, my parents also did not give me an option. But I was just like, I don't understand why so many kids have dropped. And I just remember thinking, you know what, we don't get the support. We don't get, none of the black girls were given any extra time. It was just like, drop. If you can't do it, just drop out of my class. Like, I can't. So yeah, like people are always told, like, just go do drama. You guys love to sing and dance. Go do that. Go perform and make a noise and sing and dance. It was just so wild, honestly. And then even in my class, people were like, we should make like matric sweaters for the higher grade girls, and you'll get one that says token. And I was just like,
But you know, one thing I also picked up is the system fails everyone. And I think that's important. I was speaking to one lady who, she was, and it's funny because we still have relations. She was the one, like literally the one mother who was Caucasian, who, and funny enough, her daughter's one of Minnie's best friends, Minnie Dlamini, who had our backs, you know, and it was so rare. But one thing she, like, and some people put to light is that the system also fails white people as well. Because it's one of classism, it's one of hate, and you're seeing it even on social media where you see white kids saying no. It's one where like having the A class, the B class, the C class, the D class, the E class. That's what we used to always. I was just speaking to another friend of mine and saying how you guys always had anxiety over nothing, extreme anxiety, constantly. And I always say that's what happens when essentially you're inheriting something out of blood. Your hands are bloody. And the only way you can reverse that legacy is to ensure that you change the narrative, because you have it. It's within your hands to change that narrative. It brings you that. I'm very big into ancestors and your lineage, you know, your family tree and how you can break such cycles. And that essentially, if you don't break those cycles, you're inheriting so much, so many crimes, so many burdens. And I remember her saying, the mother, that this system has failed us too. You guys have to understand that yes, we're privileged, we have resources, but the reason why you see that we're so unhappy and that we have to attack is because we've hurt people and we indeed are hurt. And I thought that was so true, because if you think about it, if you have 4 houses, whatever the case may be, you guaranteed a job, you know, you basically, your marks are always high. Life is just, you are privileged. You know, you're on the right side in terms of privilege. But you still get disturbed when someone like Lesego gets an A. You must be hurt. There's no way. Karen can always get mad over the little things. By you just walking by affects me. And that's when you don't get things the right way. When you don't do things the right way and you know the truth. Right?
I think, you know what, also the worst thing for me is the racism in schools is just very, very micro. Like, it's always very difficult to miss it unless you are aware of it, how it actually permeates every single part of being at school. Whether, I mean, I remember my friend used to be in the choir, all of us were in the choir, but she was specifically a very loud girl. And she was always told, just, you know, Shabine Queen, or go back to the townships. That was literally a quote that we used to say about our music teacher. So I was just like, that is so wild to have, you know, a situation where you can tell people that there's Shabine Queens, and she's in grade 4. And she was also a very tiny girl. So this is literally all the bullying. I mean, even Skebengas, the term that I use with Coconut Kells, the reason why I use it is because I went to a school where I was doing tennis lessons, and I heard the teacher like calling all the little black children, and she was like, "Come on, you little Skebengas," and I was just like, and it was so normalized. These kids were like, I think maybe 6 or 5. And for them, it's like a term of endearment right now, until one day they're going to grow up and say, why do they only call the black kids that? Why are the white kids playing and she's only calling the black kids Skebengas? But the way she said it is such a warm way, such a loving way, that I'm sure those kids were like, oh, this is a term of endearment. This is so wonderful. Even things like, don't talk your languages here. Don't talk your languages here. Huh?
Sorry to interject. You actually reminded me of something. Do you remember when something got stolen at school? I don't know if you can relate to this. How you would freeze as a black person. No, very well.
Pray and pray. pray it was one of the white girls.
Because already by virtue of your skin color, you just felt guilty. And imagine that, because the system's told you, and you could always hear the tone. Well, because someone here, and
Exactly.
you know that tone.
Also, our biggest thieves at my school were literally white. They did it almost like, you know, those like people would take like 10,000 rand or iPods, or like steal medicine from the quarry, like the chemist next door. And maybe a black person would steal like some snacks and food because we're at boarding school. But it would always be now it's all the blacks. Whereas if a white person does it, she's got kleptomania, she's sick. So even the terms that they put on people when they do something, the differences between what they speak to with black people and how they speak to white people, how if someone, like I said, if someone black steals, they're a thief. It's part of your nature. That's what you people do. But if someone white steals, it's like, oh guys, she must be really like traumatized. Her parents are getting divorced. She's got kleptomania. She's actually got mental illness. I'm just like, what the heck? What do you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, sorry, I'm reading also someone's comment here, which is going to get me emotional. Today I said I'd be very strong, because essentially we're doing this for many generations to come, who will hopefully enjoy schools that are multiracial and fair. And that's the purpose of even this chat. His name is BSK Life. Said, a cousin of mine got killed through these initiation games at boarding schools. The white boys got away with it. I'm 40, and this years ago, I think he's saying many years ago when I was in primary school. So this happened many years when I was in primary school, and it's still happening. I actually don't know what to say.
I mean, even the story that happened this year, I think it was this year, at Parktown Boys, which is its own trash.
I mean, the fact that someone can say a relative of theirs, family member, was killed through these initiations, and a lot of these, you know, you're a border, girls and boys don't speak about the trauma they went through and are still going through in these schools. I mean, the fact that, and BSK, sorry, please can you DM me after this, because we need to do something about that. The fact that the people are unaccountable. Ikala, you know, I bol. So, yeah, I'm willing to help out with that case, because that's still very valid, and is a serious crime. But the fact that you have someone who's gone through these, went through initiation and died because of the color of their skin,
even
no one's held
initiation
accountable.
practices are racist. Why are you throwing young
Absolutely.
black kids in the pool and forcing them to swim when many people come from schools, maybe in primary school, where they didn't have access to pools, where they didn't learn that? And now you're pushing them into the deep end and forcing them because participation and school tradition. And like, I think a lot of racism is hidden behind the word. I think my friend sent a message today and she was like, a lot of racism is hidden behind the word tradition. Just the fact that your hair has to be a certain length, your school uniform has to fit a certain way. When we grow up and we have curves and bums and hips, our school uniform is not the same way.
I remember that.
We used to have nude tights that used to look so dry and bashile on us because they were the white people's nude. And even my friend was like, you know, she wants to buy her kid, there's this new crayon pack that now has skin color, but skin color is 7 different colors.
Incredible.
Because I was like, why is skin color, every time we used to ask in schools, even this internalized racism of knowing that skin color was the peach crayon, or, you know, wanting, I mean, this girl said her kid was punished for drawing a brown princess, because who is the brown princess? And she was just like, you know, they said you must draw a Disney princess. So, I mean, just all these things where constantly telling us we're not good enough, constantly telling us our way is not the good way. When you Google professional hairstyles, you see lots of Karen's blonde hair, and you Google unprofessional hairstyles, it's dreadlocks, it's braids, it's afros. We're told your hair can't sit up, it has to fall down. And I'm like, that's not even a possibility. That's not how our hair grows. Why are the rules made against how we are naturally? You know.
And all these innuendos. I mean, I saw the Durban Girls College letter. You saw that as well. You know, where it can almost make someone sound crazy because you can't hit it. You can't say, but that person said that word. But there's an innuendo. There's a certain tone there. You know. And what a smart way of telling you who you are without necessarily being obvious about it. And I think that's one thing, especially semi-private, private schools, that they've mastered, where you can't go home and say, this person called me. Do you get what I'm saying? But you know the way, the treatments, the way you're looked at, certain marks. I know at the high school I went to, that if you were in the A class, you had to take Afrikaans and you couldn't take Zulu. So automatically, you thinking that, and obviously I'm from Durban, KZN, so that's why it was Zulu as an option. Afrikaans,
we didn't even have an app. We had only Afrikaans. Only Afrikaans.
So you didn't even have. So the fact that if you were in the smartest class, you couldn't take an African language, you had to then take Afrikaans as a second language, already tells you something, that us as a people are not smart enough. This is a stupid language for people, or not necessarily that people are stupid, because all of these A, B, C, and D's, just anyone watching, doesn't matter in the world out there, but because you're all talented and you're all intelligent, just so you know. But the fact that they try to link that to that us Africans are less, inferior, not as smart. And I just, sometimes you play back your childhood and think, oh my goodness, I went through that and thought it was okay. Yeah. But it's not okay.
You know what? Also, like, speaking of that, as well with the religious thing, I think a lot of our schools, saying that they're Christian schools, Catholic schools, Anglican schools, eliminates a lot of African children who might not subscribe to that. We had, I think, one Muslim girl my entire high school career. We had one Jewish girl who was then voted head girl. All the parents were fighting that why would a Jewish girl be head girl of our school? I think she was even half Jewish. But that's another way that they exclude people, is that you have to fit in the certain ideal of organized religion, which I'm not even going to go into, but it was a very difficult thing to say. You have to look like this. You have to be like this. You have to look like this in order to fit in. You have to subscribe to these beliefs, which are from Britain. I mean, my school was Anglican. That's a very British religion, but that's one of the best schools in South Africa, and that's the religion you have to subscribe to go there. African religions don't have private schools. Other religions don't have those kind of spaces in school.
No, and speaking of which, you've actually highlighted something so important, because I had also a lot of Indian ladies actually letting me know and reminding me that obviously their religious string, the red string, I'm from Durban, that they wear a lot of the time, and I remember this, the teachers would ask them to cut that off. Same thing with us. It's part. It was like, it smells. Oh, you need to cut that off, or you weren't allowed to do your traditions as an African person. So you couldn't wear your tradition. This is spiritual purposes. This is for your ancestors, your family, for yourself. Your calm, your center, and imagine being told to cut that off there and there. I remember many girls in front of everyone. So you're ridiculing someone's religious beliefs. And that is something I could never, till this day, I'm shocked that was okay. But I remember that happening. I don't know if you remember the same thing.
I mean, we had a girl who wore a headscarf because the school in its kind of code of conduct already excluded so many people from coming that I'm sure before the conversations even need to happen, so many people chose not to come anyway. But we had a girl who wanted to wear a headscarf, and that was just the end of it. They were like, you will never in this uniform. What are you disrespecting the uniform? And we had male teachers and stuff. So it's okay to have that kind of situation around just girls. But we had male teachers as well. And she just was traumatized for a whole year. I think she ended up even leaving the school. So yeah, it's really insane that people have those types of uniform guidelines that are very exclusionary in their code of conduct. The fact that we have school books written with the rules from when the school was founded in 1904, and they're still supposed to be relevant when black girls are coming in, black boys are coming in 2000 and boma what. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And that's how they're enabled to make racism systemic. Racism is now part of the rules because a code of conduct is a code of conduct.
And imagine carrying all of this guilt for just being born the way you are. I mean, we're talking about kids. We were all kids, just trying to get an education. Wasn't that deep. Just trying to have a good time at school, but getting an education. No guilt. You just carrying this guilt for being who you are. And I think there's nothing more twisted when you really think racism is twisted. Yeah, of course, including the rape and murders. When you attack kids, that's when you know you're really abnormal.
There's no like sometimes I used to think that because I trust teachers, because I trust people, they're not doing it on purpose.
Yes.
But damn, the thing I used to say was so calculated. Every single school I know, there's girls who know when black girls used to gather together, or black people, they'd be like, what are you guys protesting here? What riot are you guys starting? With that stupid smile on their faces. And I'm just like, how do you say things like that? How do you make people feel like their very existence is a threat in the entire time? When we're in the same school uniforms, we're in the same, places, but we're still seen as trouble starters, rioters, just words like that they'd use all the time, and we're just sitting and minding our own business. Made us feel very exclusion and very angry because, like Civies Day would come and we'd be like, okay, guys, let's plan. We're all going to wear ANC colors today and just mind our own business. We're not going to march. We're not going to do anything. We literally had an ANC Civies Day. They literally thought we were going to burn the school. They just saw little Sarafinas everywhere. They were like, what the hell is happening? All the police, like Beldi Polisi, it's going down at an end. And just because we chose to wear yellow, green, and black, just because they kept calling us protesters and rioters, we're like, we're going to give you rioting chic, So
yeah, absolutely. And even not even being able to sing the songs, I remember we had to, you had to write the lyrics for the songs just in case, because I remember one teacher said, we're not sure if you're swearing at us. And she always kept saying that. And you imagine you're like, so we're going to swear when you're cheering on people. And so you had to write the original and then interpret what you've written and say, this is what this means, just to have approval of such. And just to think, like you're saying, something so important, that these are essentially adults who you're supposed to feel safe around. You're told that people who are older than you are supposed to protect you, take care of you. But if anything, there were just so many genders. I remember one, I was tapped to be like a prefect, whatever I was supposed to be. You never know, it was head girl deputy. But I'll tell you where I messed up, according to my school, was they took me to the principal's room and they told me that I shouldn't hang out with the friends that I hang out.
I was just
that, right?
All the time, the girls who made prefect, and this is not an indictment on girls who made prefect, congratulations to you, I'm sure it was amazing, but it was always the girls who towed the line of whatever the code of conduct was. The least threatening black girl would be that one black prefect. The ones who made the most noise, the ones who, complained the most, had the aggressive friends or demeanor, never made it, It was always like sending that good cop. And then every time an issue would happen with the black girls, guess who's coming to talk to us? That one black prefect that told the
Absolutely. So how many issues? Divide and rule. Now all of a sudden you're also an Uncle Tom and you don't want to be. And also black on black. I mean, so many social issues and just that. And all of a sudden you put in a situation where you're like, okay. And of course, everyone wants, well, not everyone, but you get what I'm saying. Because by then I was over it, actually. But
of course, tongue ring, so I already knew
it was tired. But of course, a lot of people want to be prefects or would like to be prefect or be in a position of leadership or whatever.
It really doesn't.
That also doesn't matter in the real world. But anyway,
it really doesn't matter.
None of it matters. But of course, you want to be in such positions. And now, as a kid, you've been torn. Do I choose my friends or do I choose this position? And thankfully, because being a prefect at a very racist school didn't matter to me anyway, I chose my friends and they're still my friends to this day. Love you guys. Shout out to you. And I know you're watching. But the fact that we had to make such a decision at such a young age, I mean, how twisted and sick is that?
Or even the fact that, at my school, we had our first black head girl in 2004. That's wild to me. The school's been open, I think it was like 1892 or some shit like that. I don't even remember. But how the first black-haired girl came in 2004. And every single time, every year, our principal would be like, next year we're going to have 21% blacks. And all the parents would be like, oh my gosh. So this is the Rainbow Nation.
And context, where's this? In Africa.
Exactly. And some schools still haven't had their first black-haired girl. Some schools that have only had one or two in their entire histories. So that also just says a lot to me. Like, yeah, I even went to speak at my old school in 2018 about my career and whatever it is. And every girl I spoke to, I was like, I'm going to specifically sit at the black table. By the way, we had a thing called the black table. Wasn't our own doing. That's what they called us, just for hanging out with our friends. But sat at the new black table and was like, guys, let's talk. What's going on? Every single issue they spoke about mirrored what was 14 years or 12 years I'd been before. And I just couldn't believe that these girls still have to sit here, knowing that I thought I'd made a difference. I thought I'd done something when people's teachers used to speak to us in Fanagalo because they thought we couldn't understand English, even though we're at the same schools. And then they're still having the same issues in 2018. I was just like, yeah, okay, we have so far to go.
No, absolutely. And you know, the most important thing, I'd also spoken, my sister and I actually spoke at our school. And something I wanted to share, and with all the girls, that, you know, you're intelligent, you're worthy, you are enough, you know. But also we were trying to ensure that, because also not much has changed, but that trauma, be okay to speak to your parents about it. Or to someone who can relate. And I think, you know, you said something very practical where obviously you'll share the company on your Instagram, and that's so important. Thank you so much for that. Where we need such structures where people can speak about what they've gone through, because this is trauma. The fact that someone just said now their cousin was killed in initiation, that's murder. That is a serious, serious, serious crime.
Yeah.
And you're talking about these schools. You saw what happened in Parktown. So many other stories. And also the fact that I must be honest, because I have a lot of people who I went to school with who follow me, for example, on social media. And the first thing I did during this Black Lives Matter, I just wanted to see if those people were speaking about such. And for some reason, they all knew who won for rugby when when South Africa won. Amazing. That made noise. But when Black Lives Matters, there was somewhat silence.
I say I have like two white friends. I have two.
One or two,
I'm
yeah.
Just like,
same.
If you're not going to be proactive about speaking out, we can't sit together at the table, because there's no point in pretending and putting a plaster over some deep, deep wounds that need severe cleaning. And the conversations I have in my videos, and then you're going to come back and be like, oh, Lesego, you're a bit too like political. We have to be political. Who's going to change this country if we're not political? Our parents don't understand some of the things we went through, but we do.
Political. It's not political necessarily, Lesego. It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. And for any of my friends watching this, or anyone I grew up with watching this, it's so important for you to share this. I'm talking about everyone. Caucasian, African, Indian, colored. Any South African watching this, or African, or anyone from the diaspora as a whole. I saw Shagabaz saying, what's up, Shagabaz? But anyone who's watching this, it is so important for us, if we really want progress and fairness and equality for many generations to come, to be truthful. Let's not be narcissists and gaslight and lie. We know the origins of this. There's dates to all of this. You get what I'm saying? And I always say this, whenever you think any group, let's say natives or anyone is chaotic, you always look before colonialism, and then you look after colonialism, and then you see who really brought the chaos. You know,
some white people need to just be woken to the truth. Like I had on my Instagram last week, please, Black people, share instances of, I used the Coconut Kells' page, but I was like, share instances of your first time you ever realized you were Black and that was a negative thing. There were so many stories that were like microaggressive, and I even spoke about the role that dogs play in all of this, or white people make their dogs play. But there were so many white people who just said, I just didn't know that this was the daily experience of a Black person, and I'm so sorry. So also us just sharing our stories, because they don't realize it's every day. They only think it's like Penny Sparrow, Adam Katsavelos. It's not. It's the everyday racism that makes us the most touched, that traumatized us the most. And that's the ones that we should be sharing every day. I'm glad that there's a hashtag racism in school, so they can see what it was like for us to just be there, just to exist there, and how traumatizing every day was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, the system, and you said it so well, thank you so much. You know, also the system ensured that you wouldn't know what was happening on the other side. So like my husband and I always joke, so mina ngakhule eMhlanga, yena wakhule kwaMashu, so we always, but it's all the north. And so he always says, yeah, no, I also grew up in Durban North, because literally, remember, you had zones that were made, apartheid made zones for black people. So you were 10 minutes away. If you are in the suburbs and you see in Johannesburg, for example, you're literally 5 minutes away from Ekasi. And can you imagine, you telling me that you don't know what's happening 5 minutes away? But also with that said, is that your life is so different. And this is where the system messes me up. Completely different. I mean, you see, for example, Alexandra and Samson. It's that juxtaposition. It's
always in
insane.
Diepsloot, or Dainfern and Diepsloot. My God.
You name it.
Next door.
I mean, South Africa, it's just next door. And the fact that we're okay with that jarring, just to see, for me, it's the most traumatic thing. And Zace was always saying, because I remember also at the schools, I don't know if you remember this, where they would say that you can only apply at schools if you, and I think it's still a thing actually, if you live around the area, you know, that zoning.
I think that's a form of a school thing.
Yeah. So they tried that with the kids, anyone from Durban or the other. So the school I went to was in Durban North, Mhlanga. And they tried the same thing with the black kids who were living in like KwaMashu. So KwaMashu is like 5-10 minutes away from like Inc. So, you know, this place like in Tuzu, it's called Inc. So KwaMashu is one of their Newlands. And Inanda. And it didn't work because they proved that they were indeed like 5-10 minutes away from the school. And someone obviously brought it up, but then they had a lawyer, and then the issue wasn't an issue because they were like, no, you can't apply. Unfortunately, you live in KwaMashu, and so you don't qualify for the school. And then it was like, no, we're the same as someone who lives in Belito, which is further away, 20 minutes away from the school. And if it wasn't for that, there were so many kids who weren't, black kids who weren't able to access the school. I'm just showing you, this is within my time. I actually feel like sometimes I'm making this up because it's just crazy how the system would try to exclude so many black kids from the schooling system. And then once you were in it, the trauma you would experience and just having to survive, because it's already enough that you're trying to excel academically. That's already a stress in itself. And now you're almost having to survive, I mean, from an esteem perspective, just from all different psychological, economical, 12 years old.
Yeah, no, I actually just think, you know, a lot of people have to fight the fight, but at least, again, like a lot of people said, we're not really alone anymore, because now we have the language, we have the literature, we have the language, we have the experience, and so that's why it's not on people telling their parents. Like, it's very difficult to rely on parents who don't have the experience. They will never really get it, and they won't really understand. Plus, people are scared. Like, if you're having the chance to take your kid to the school, you don't want to get into trouble or get your kid to be one of those that's out, like, you know, ostracized or picked on because their mom is an angry black mom or whatever it is. So I understand how difficult it is, but I think that's why us as the alumni need to go back and educate and also get involved in what's happening in the school. I can't just leave St. Anne's, as much as I didn't like my time there. I can't just leave it and be like, okay, well, the others will see.
Because that's what we do.
Like,
you're right, that's what we do, because you're traumatized. Like, right?
Yeah, I was on my last day.
And you're right, thank you. Bye.
But I've decided, like, actually, you know, there's a girl, I think she matriculated, she was in the 2018 group, and she was like, oh, I remember when you came to speak to us, you know, with your influence, please can we start some sort of network? Please can you get involved in the conversations? Please can we just not leave the other girls behind? Like, this is a lifeboat, and we need to get them on, because the teachers are very, very racist. They don't understand. We've got literally every school has got one black teacher probably, and it's a Zulu teacher or whatever it is. They don't even have inclusion on that level. So when are we going to get them to understand the issues of inclusion on a sort of student level? Even small things, like I remember a white girl kissed a black boy at another school, and the entire school was like, if you want to be like them, go sit at the black table. And for a week, this girl had to come and sit with us. And I was just like, this is not the rubbish bin. Like, you're not going to come sit here because your friends don't want to talk to you. And then next week when they're all fine again, you're going to go back. But she came and we were like, you know what, whatever, come sit. Just because she kissed a black boy. And if I ever mentioned, like, oh, I have a crush on someone, then they're like, oh, Temba? Bongani, and I was like, no,
I remember
no. Like,
No.
it actually might be,
I
why
know.
don't you say Matthew or Sean or Kyle? Like, why is your assumption
Yo,
I must go to
I have a
other
crush
black
on
boys?
Ryan. Yo.
And the black boys at those schools who never even wanted black girls, they were like, oh no,
Yo.
I can't date black dolls, they relax their hair. So I was like, oh, well, they don't want me either. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine. I just want to be able to like who I like without having an interrogation and a weird
Absolutely.
racist conversation about who I'm supposed to like.
Because you should be attracted to whoever you want to be attracted to.
Whoever.
And whenever you're that young, it shouldn't matter. But Lesego, sure, what you've said is so profound. This hour has been incredible. It's not enough. But I just want to thank you so much for your time. At least we also have a solution. Please ensure that you follow Lesego. Lesego is it _Tlapi, am I right?
Yeah.
And also at Coconut Cows. So of course, she does satire. She's incredible, very popular Coconut Cows. But you are so important, and we appreciate you as a voice so much. I love the fact that you brought a solution that us also as the alumni go back to those schools and ensure there is change as well. And ensure that their company is supporting that change, because no child, whether you're white, black, Indian, colored, no child should go through such trauma. And that hopefully one day, through this legacy, for many, many, many generations, I mean, it's going to take some time, but we need to ensure that we make that change, that we see, whether it's in heaven or on earth, real change, where kids can just be kids and enjoy school and just have a good time being who they are.
And that school
That's
is
all we
not the
want.
worst place to be, you know, because it literally, the most racism I ever experienced, honestly, was at schools. Even since then, I've had some racist incidents, but never on the level that I experienced at school. So it needs to stop being a trauma route that every kid has to go to in order to be at the best schools in South Africa.
Absolutely. So anyone watching, I'm appreciating as well that there are people of other race groups are watching. Please spread the news. If you know anyone who is racist, please educate them and tell them the truth and tell it like it is and let them understand. And hopefully we'll see that change. But I'm very practical. I don't like talking. After this, to the gentleman that I said whose brother was murdered, I really do want to talk to you. Please do DM me, because that is serious and I will take that on. But besides that, from a constitutional perspective, yes, the constitution is very, very controversial. But it does say equal rights, and the Bill of Rights also ensures that for everyone. And we need to ensure that there aren't any of these innuendos and people trying
No
to...
more jokes at a braai. No more letting your racist aunt say without
No
more
more
letting your mom just be racist and
No.
telling your friends, oh my gosh, sorry, my mom is so racist. You need to check your friends. As Brianna says, pull up. Like, it's enough now. We're done. We're screaming at brick walls. They're only going to listen to you. So pull up.
Go on, tell your people, pull up. It's time for change. I love you so much, Lesego. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
And thank you, everybody.
Keep shining. Keep being a voice and a light. We really do appreciate you. Once again, she is Coconut Cows. Well, she's Lesego, also known as Coconut Cows. It is satire. It's not real. It's so important for you to say
please
this.
tell your uncles and your fathers and
Satire.
whatever, your moms, to stop shouting at me on Facebook. Get Google.
Satire. Absolutely. So she's reflecting on realities, but it's a makeup character.
And there's a reason why I'm doing it. This very conversation is the entire reason why I do what I do.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you. What a beautiful legacy. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. And thank you for everyone watching. We will share this as well. And please tell your principals, tell your teachers that Nandi will pull up if you're not
Hashtag time's up.
And I mean that. I'll be the next troop. Bring those cameras to your school. I'm out. Love you so much. Thank you so much, Lesego. We appreciate you. Bye, everyone. Much love. Change is going to come soon. So once again, I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Last week was a terrible, terrible moment for so many kids in schools in South Africa. And I'm being dead serious. We need that change. I am tired, man. So any of my friends or people I know or people I went to school with who are white, who know people who are creating this division. Talk to them, speak to them, but with a real tone, because we're really tired. I really just want to see unity, man. You cannot be torturing kids for how they look and who they are. Kids, you are twisted, seriously twisted if you can attack a child. You need to check yourself in the most serious way and check your mind. Check your mind, because you are not okay if you can do such. But with that said, I am positive. I love what I've been seeing on social media, that people who aren't black, who are trying to make that change, who are addressing certain issues to their parents, relatives, or people they know, and saying that's actually not okay. And that's what we need. We need you guys to do that. You guys need to do the work, because this is your people's sickness, man. It's not ours. So please talk to your people. I know there's so many good people out there, and I've been speaking to so many people out there who aren't black, who really want to see that change and haven't been feeling comfortable with what's been happening in the country and the world over. And I appreciate that, because that's how it should be. I don't applaud it, but I appreciate it, because in a normal world, that's how it should be anyway. Love you so much. Stay Nandi, much love, Nandi. Mwah. Take care.